when Linda, she told me she was going to do the Apple series and she was doing the book, I was like, oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. She was really nervous about doing the talks, but she's like, what are we going to talk about? And it's like, oh, you're talking about the book. And Tim Blanks interviewed her on stage, and Tim is just so lovely and fun. He's like, we're going to have fun. And then they sold out this theater, and it was like, oh my, and David and I are in the wings of the theater, like, oh my gosh, there's so many people. And these folks were smiling from ear to ear. They were so excited. And when she came out on stage, people just like lost their minds. At the Marc Jacobs, the bookmark signing, and Linda was talking to people and taking pictures with people. And I'm like, can we go? You know, they'd say, are we taking pictures? I say, no, we're not doing pictures. And then they'd say, okay, one person would say, oh, can I have a picture? And she'd say, sure. And then it was like, okay, well, I guess we're doing pictures. Okay. But then it became like, we worked out, it was so good. We worked out this moment where everyone was trying to do selfies. And she's like, well, no, Fred will take the picture. So that I knew exactly where to stand. And I do a bunch of them. Okay, thank you. And we were like, it was like, I don't know which signing it was. At every signing, there's always someone who would come up and start crying. And they would tell her what she meant to them. And it was always really beautiful. And then she would say, oh my God, you're going to make me cry. You're going to ruin my makeup. So they would be laughing. And she, you know, would hug these people and see them. I think that's what it is. They're being seen. And at one point she said, oh my God, it's really, I don't even know. Like, this is so crazy to me. Like, I never thought I had this effect on people. And I said, you'd be surprised. Yeah, and it doesn't matter what you look like. And you don't even you're not trying to be a model. All you know is that this person, for whatever reason, connected with you. And you're a fan of theirs, and you just want to be able to move through the world like they are. Like the beautiful thing about being a publicist is that you do the red carpet with your client, you then pass them off when they go inside. And a lot of times those events, like the Met Ball, like the Met Gala, we don't go. You know, we're not even allowed to go on the red carpet. You get your client onto the carpet, and then you walk away. There's a last check. You do a last check before you get out of the car. Also, I get out of the car first so I can make sure that everything is, in order before the big reveal. Also, the team always is so great. The hair, the makeup, whoever they're using to style. Those 2 hours before the event, when they're getting glam, is actually the most fun. You're playing dress up. And the hairstylist has talked to the stylist about what are we doing? What's our inspiration? The makeup artist is going like, I was thinking doing this. The model may say, oh, well, I was thinking of like a smoky eye or a little cat eye, or make it dewy, make my skin dewy and fresh. And, all these conversations are happening, and there's music going on, and, someone's telling someone about their reading that they had at their psychic. I have 2 older sisters, and my father was in the 82nd Airborne in North Carolina, and then he was in the 101st in Kentucky. He was a jump master. So that's someone who jumps out of planes for a living. She had told me this idea she had about writing about her father and her relationship with her dad. And it was going to be a positive, beautiful, uplifting story about like a Black woman's relationship with her father, because we were both on the phone. We're like, you don't see that. There's always the father who's left the family, or he's in jail, or there's always that. There's never this happiness. There's never this joy. And so we decided we wanted to do a play about Black joy. And then we sold out our 2 nights at the Public, which was exciting. Wow. The model apartment was on like 49th Street. And there was maybe 5 bedrooms in this apartment. And then there was like 2 to 3 girls in a room. And so it was a lot of ladies. And there was like, and my rules were like, no booze, no cigarette butts, and no boys. That was it. And back then, there was a fax machine. So all of their days, their schedule for the next day, their go-sees, were all faxed to them. And so you'd have to make sure that everyone got their details for the next day. And sometimes it was rough because the girl may not, like someone might have like 5 go-sees. You know, they're sharing a room with a girl who's working. Like she's just flown in and she's out the gate, and they've flown in and no one's interested. And you kind of have to be a little bit of a therapist. This is kind of like letting them know that, like, you know what? If this doesn't work out, there are other things. Your life doesn't end here. If your modeling career does not take off, you'd be surprised the number of people in the industry who started off as models, realized that A, I don't want to do it, or they had a great time and, you know, they moved on to something else. And I was working at Elite, and it was all of the agents would go to the shows. So all of us little, like, you know, broke, lowly employees would stay in the agency to answer phones and deal with everything. But we get in the cab, we got to Bryant Park, and we went backstage, and it was like no one, we were like, oh, we're with Elite. And they were like, okay. And there was all the girls were there, and there was all this madness and music and champagne, and people were like, you know, and it was like a party atmosphere. And we were just checking in. How you doing? What was the last show like? And they're like, oh, are you excited? Like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then like, oh, can you hold my bag? All kinds of craziness. And then they clear all the agents out of the back. Everyone has to get out. And then you'd go out into the show, and there would be people standing on the wall. And then right before the lights would go down, they'd say, fill in the seats. So everyone just ran for what empty seat there was. And once I ran to an empty seat, and it was on the front row, and I was sitting beside Polly Mellon. I had on this ridiculous scarf.
I'm sure she was totally great with you.
It was like, duh, I love the scarf. It's like, oh, thank you, Miss Mellon.